Welcome back, party people, to episode 60 of the Whatnauts review show, where every week we have a different story to talk about. Could be a comic, a movie, TV show, something, who knows. We rate it, watch it, do what we have to do, come back here and talk about it. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa,
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, Kyle. How are you this morning?
Doing pretty well. I got back into watching The Walking Dead. This weekend, I'm catching up on season 8.
So many seasons.
Yes, there is a lot, and I'm actually really liking this season so far. I think they already did season 9. I think that's about to come out on Netflix later this summer. I don't know exactly when, but I'm a little bit behind, so I was just like, well, I'm gonna start catching up on that now. That's what I did yesterday, most of the day.
It's exciting.
Hell yeah. What about you, Melissa?
I have just been watching TV and doing housework this weekend.
Yeah, you started watching Good Omens.
Yes. I'm enjoying it a lot, not to spoil the episode we're going to do about it later, but this was a book I loved since I was 16, and it makes me feel 16 again in a really delightful way.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So I make myself clean and do errands. I might have to go get a new curtain rod now. And then my reward is I get to sit down and watch Good Omens.
Sounds very relaxing to me. We will have an episode on the reactor core on that. I think we're going to be recording that tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. You can find our podcast just by searching the Whatnauts in whatever app you use to get your podcast, or on the whatnauts.com. That's where we put everything up. This week, however, here on the review show, we're talking about an anime anthology film called Flavors of Youth. This is a weird thing for me because I don't think I've seen, outside of comics or like written stuff, there's not very many like anthology shows. There's stuff like Twilight Zone, or what's the new one that everyone likes, the Black Mirror. Yeah, there's stuff like that. Netflix also just did their what was it called, Love, Sex, and Robots, or something like that. Yeah. So there is stuff out there, but I feel like it's a lot more rare that you see stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's normally like horror or sci-fi focused.
Yeah.
Whereas this was just heartwarming, pleasant stories.
So again, this is entitled The Flavors of Youth, and I feel like they did have a theme, though. I feel like the theme was youth. Like each one, you can kind of see how it's like, okay, I can see how this deals with youth in a different way. So I mean, yeah, but that's still, it's not like it's sci-fi or it's horror. It's just like youth. Go.
Yes.
Interpret that as you will.
It's less about taking a little pocket of time to investigate this like horror or sci-fi concept, so to bring that into reality without having to flesh out a full mythology or storyline or anything about it. This is just very small, like literal slice of life stories.
Yeah.
Like you take a slice of life story and you make it even smaller. It's a smaller slice.
Exactly. So I'm playing the trailer kind of in the background here on our YouTube version, so people can kind of see what it is. But yeah, this is one that I found, I want to say about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago on Netflix. I saw it and it kind of caught my attention. It's always strange when you see something and you get this like preconceived notion in your mind of what it's supposed to be. So I thought it was supposed to be these like 3 stories all taking place in the same city, even though they're completely separate, and somehow they all kind of intertwine. But that's not the case.
Not exactly, no. They're pretty standalone.
yeah, they do have I guess they do kind of at the end kind of come together, but again, not
Mhm.
in a way that like is a meaningful plot
Yeah,
way.
it's just all of the characters happen to be in the same setting at once. Like there's no real interaction or impact from one group of characters to the other.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so it was a film that caught my eye, and I guess I had tried to talk about it on another podcast a long time ago, and that didn't work out. And so
Mhm.
here we are talking about
It's
it
us.
now.
We get to
Yeah.
do it.
So let's break down the synopsis stuff here. We mentioned three stories. The first one is entitled "The Rice Noodles."
Hmm.
And this is about a young boy who has a very fond memory of spending time with his grandmother, eating these certain rice noodles each day. And then it's a story about how he grows older, and that rice noodle shop changes,
Hmm.
and it just he feels like he's losing his youth
Yeah.
there. And then story two is a story about two sisters.
Hmm.
One is a fashion model, and one wants to be a fashion designer.
Hmm.
And it's kind of this story of the model realizing that she's not going to be young forever, and
Yeah.
she's maybe going to have to think of something else to do or figure out what to do next. She's having
Mm.
this crisis of conscience there.
Yeah, and she's the older of the two
Mm-hmm.
sisters, and she wants to be really responsible for the younger sister. I think that's called
Exactly.
A Little Fashion Show.
Correct. That
Yeah.
one is called A Little Fashion Show. And then story number three is called Love in Shanghai.
Hmm.
And it's about this guy who I don't remember if he was moving back to his hometown or not, but he ends up getting this cassette tape from this girl that he used to like when he was younger,
Hmm.
and they kind of left things not necessarily on a sour note, but there was no closure
Yeah.
there. Something happened between them, and there was just no closure.
Hmm.
And so it's him kind of realizing, hey, maybe I still have a chance, and this
Yeah.
love of his youth is hopefully right around the corner, and he's
Hmm.
trying to find her. So those are the three stories. If that sounds like something you guys would enjoy, I say check it out. It's
Yeah.
also pretty short too. It's like an hour and 20 minutes, hour 14,
Yeah,
something like that.
it's a very quick watch, and then you can
75
watch.
minutes is what
Yeah,
Wikipedia says.
yeah, I think that third segment is the longest one. And it's like about half an hour or so, but maybe 35, 40 minutes. So yeah,
Yeah.
just pick one up one afternoon and hit pause and watch the next one
It's
another time.
it's a good summer like movie night thing of just like,
You think
hey,
so?
yeah, I think so. Like it just like, hey, I'm gonna put on a like a feel good, short
It's
and sweet anime
yeah.
movie, something you don't necessarily really have to think about or get
Oh
super involved with, because it's all
no,
it's all these
feels
short
very
stories.
light.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's very light and warm and cozy. Like I can see this being a movie I put on in the future just when I want very pleasant like background noise for company.
yeah,
Which
I think that would be
sounds
good.
like belittling of it, but it is just like these stories don't have a lot of depth to them. Like they're not very complex. They're just simple, straightforward, heartwarming stories. You know, you're not really going to pick up very much on the second viewing that you didn't pick up on the first viewing, I
Yeah.
don't think. So I think they're perfect for just like I'm going to put on a nice warm sweater in the future when
Mm-hmm.
my soul is cold and I don't
Exactly.
have to think about it. I just get to be warm. That's what this movie is for.
Exactly. So this happened to be a Japanese and Chinese
Hmm.
co-production between Comics Wave Films and Howliner's Animation League. And that was another thing that I thought was
Yeah,
interesting. That it
it's
was
set
this
entirely in
collaboration.
China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and then I guess was also distributed here in America by Netflix. But
Mhm.
each story has its own director. I am not gonna be able to pronounce their names.
Send it here, I'll give it a try.
Go for it. The one that I can do, there's it looks like there's two of them that look Chinese to me. I could be completely
Mhm.
wrong on that. And there's one that looks Japanese, and I think I can do
Hmm.
the Japanese one, but Chinese names are difficult.
Yeah.
You have them pulled up
Oh,
there?
I don't know where they are. You have to
Oh.
give them to me. I guess
Oh.
I can Google the movie as easily as
Well,
you can.
I have them here on
Okay,
Wikipedia,
let
so
me Wikipedia this thing also as well.
I'll just go for it. These were directed by Li Haoling, Jie Xiao, Yi Zhaojing, and Yoshitaka Takuichi.
Those
So
all sound
there
like
you
real
go.
names to me. I think you did a good job.
I gave it my all. I'm a white boy. I don't know how to say
Hmm.
all these things. Um, but yeah, go check it out. I say. Um, let's get into housekeeping, and then we'll
Yeah.
get into spoilers after that. So you and I
Hmm.
just recorded a episode yesterday of the Captain's Log. We
Hmm.
talked about all sorts of stuff from weird,
Yeah.
funky pants
Ah, yes.
to the new Aladdin movie
Hmm.
and the Upward is it's
Onward.
Onward, not
That's the new
Upward. Yeah,
Pixar movie. Yep.
the new Pixar trailer, all sorts of stuff like
Hmm.
that. So again, go check that out at the whatnauts.com. It's where you can get all of our other episodes. Last week here on this show, we covered Gravity Falls season 1,
Hmm.
which was a lot of fun too. That was one of your favorite shows that I hadn't
Yes.
seen yet.
It's spoiler alert, it's very good. And it is set in the summertime, and it's the perfect thing to watch to get your summer started right.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So go check that out as well. And tomorrow, we already mentioned it, we're going to be recording a new episode of the Reactor Core, all about good omens. And that one's going to be an experiment a bit, because
Yeah.
we've so far done things that we both have seen. This one,
Mhm.
I haven't watched it yet because I don't have Amazon. So you're going to be the only one that will have watched it, and you're going to explain to me how good these omens are.
The best omens, Kyle. Yeah, I'm very excited to sit down. I've loved the story for years. I'm very excited to sit down and explain it to you and see if you get it or not.
Exactly. So we should be recording that tomorrow. Should be out around the same time this comes out, I
Mhm.
hope. So be on the lookout for that. I think that's it. I think that's all I have for now.
Yeah,
I
let's
guess
get
that
on
means
into it.
we can get on to. Oh, that's our social media stuff. I
Oh,
hit the wrong button. Oh, goodness. What am I going to do with myself? I'm just going to let that play out, and then I'm going to hit the spoiler alert. There we go. I was like, I'm all ready to go. I hit it. I was like, oh, wait, that's the wrong button.
dang.
So let's dive into this. Melissa, what did you think? Where do you
I
want to start?
I liked it. I think it was very sweet and charming. And like I said earlier, there's not very much to it, but it's kind of nice that this isn't a movie you have to follow and think about very closely. Like it is designed to relax you.
Yeah. So I know you work more with like peer review journals and stuff in your day job and stuff like that. You guys
Yeah.
don't. It's not like literary stuff where it's like, hey, here's my short story
Oh,
submission for
no,
a
no,
thing,
no.
right?
We
No.
do it might be a literary criticism paper, but yeah, I
Okay.
process
I
academic
didn't think
papers for
so.
journals. Yeah.
Um, I kind of wanted to talk about short stories though,
Okay.
like in general. Did you spend much time in school studying them and
Uh
reading them? Because I read a handful, but not enough to really make dent,
Yeah, I
I feel
also
like.
read some. I don't remember most of them from high school, and what I studied in college was primarily plays
Okay,
and poetry. So
gotcha.
it's been a while since I've been exposed to short stories.
So I read a couple. Some of them I don't remember. Besides knowing that I read a short story some
Yeah, I read The
time ago.
Necklace once.
And I know we read like a couple abridged versions of like the Sherlock Holmes story or Edgar Allan Poe,
Mhm.
Telltale Heart, stuff like that. But I feel like short stories don't get enough shine. Like they
Mhm.
don't get enough attention on them, and I feel like they're good exercises, especially if you
Yeah.
want to be a writer or just some kind of creative. I'm putting this story out somehow.
Mhm.
Comic book writer, a script writer,
Yeah,
or who
like
knows,
there's no bells, no whistles, and I don't have to try and expand this into an entire structure and build a world. Like, as
Well,
small as I want it to be, that's as much as I
I
can
I
do.
might beg to differ on that though, because it's such a short window, and I
Mhm.
think in my mind at least the key is to give a tone or a sense of character or
Mhm.
something like that as if the story was a lot longer, because
Mhm.
if I'm doing a short story and I'm making these characters that no one can really connect to, or I don't
Mhm.
really get the tone right, then it's like, oh, all right, well, this was just like 5 pages of nonsense, you know.
I think a short story, to kind of clarify, it's for exploration. It's
Sure.
for what you want to do and not much more beyond that. It's showing that not every story has to be the one where you fill an
Agreed.
entire wall with note cards and like red
Agreed. Yeah.
string. It doesn't need to be intricate, it doesn't need to be complex or like, world spanning. If you want to tell a story about a guy who likes to eat soup throughout his life and the way the soup changes and the way he feels about the soup, that's all it needs to be. You don't need to decide where he works and what his company is doing and does he have a girlfriend. It can
Or if
just be
he
the man
believes
in the
in
soup.
ghosts, who knows?
Yeah, the ghosts don't come into it, unfortunately. I would have also liked that as an ingredient in the soup story.
um, but I guess my point is, I felt like all of these stories had a really great sense of character
Yeah.
and tone. Like
Hmm.
I felt like within the short like 20 minutes each about that each story was, that I felt like I knew who the characters were. I knew the way they
Yeah.
thought. Like there were some that were like it's kind of emotional to
Hmm.
see what happens to them, and I think in such a short amount of time, that's very difficult to do.
Yeah.
Especially, yeah, when you aren't building out this entire world, you're only giving the things that matter. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, like it. So for in this first story, I guess maybe that's how we should tackle it
Yeah.
and just go story by story here.
Mhm. And I do
Um,
want to say that all the stories involve narration by one of the characters. So we
yes.
do really get inside their head and like hear their own words
Mm-hmm.
to us about how they're feeling. We don't only have to rely on, looking at their face and their interactions with other characters. Like it's right inside their head, which
Yeah.
also is a very efficient way to get something across in stories this short.
Exactly. Yeah. Um, so in this first one, the rice noodles, we mentioned it's about this boy who has this memory of eating these rice noodles with his grandma. They were like handmade noodles from this local shop that has
Hmm.
no sign. It's just this little small rinky-dink
Hmm.
shop. And he learned later on in life that the chef who worked there was some like renowned chef who would
Yeah.
work there, who I guess retired there or something.
Hmm.
Just was like, I'm just gonna open up my own little noodle shop. And eventually the shop closes and the chef and his wife move on, but a new shop opens up there, and they're not the same, but they're
Hmm.
trying real hard And then that eventually changes to like a fishing shop, and but
Yeah.
it's the same owners, and they just seem really unhappy. Uh, but yeah, and so it's all from the perspective of this kid, like watching all these things change around
Mhm.
him, and him being like, man, like I wish that shop was still here.
Mhm.
I wish things didn't change all that much. Um, and then we learn that his grandmother is dying.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, it's just this touching thing of that after all of that happens, he goes and he sits down at this. I guess it's now a shop again after his grandmother died. Is that right, or did he go to a different shop? I don't
Um,
remember.
the neighborhood stop that he grew up going to his grandma with closed, but there was another one I think by his school
Okay,
that
that's right.
he learned to enjoy, and that went through a couple incarnations, and now like years later it is back to being the noodle shop it originally was, which is not grandma's top choice noodle shop, but it's as good as anything besides that has been for him.
Exactly. Yeah. And so he goes to that shop, and he just has this I guess this moment of comfort, and
Hmm.
this moment of just like reliving these memories, all the way down to there's a girl who passes on a bike, and it reminds him of the girl that he used to have a crush on, and stuff
Hmm.
like that. And so it's just this good, like happy, peaceful moment for
Hmm.
him, but at the same time, like very sad, of just like, oh,
Yeah.
like this is,
It's a very melancholy story.
yeah,
It's I was kind of taken aback by how straightforward and sincere the whole thing is. Like there's never any attempt at any kind of a joke or reference to something. It's just like it is just the man describing, I ate these noodles when I was a kid, and then the store did this, and the store did that, and I love to eat them with my grandma. And now I live in, the Beijing, and the city's too big, and I miss the little noodle stand. Like it's so sincere in just almost an odd way. Like I've never
it's
seen anything be
very
so,
to the point,
yeah,
which
yeah, it's so complete about that and nothing else.
I wonder if that speaks more to the culture, that because
Yeah.
he grew up and he's now working for some company, right? Like I'm wondering if it's more of just that, like he's one of those company men that like has
Mhm.
given his life to this company, and has no time for watching his favorite TV shows or stuff. Like, it's very, I need to be here, I need to focus, I need to do the work.
Mhm.
I have a little gnat flying
Mm.
around here. Um, but yeah, and so I'm wondering if that's more of a comment on the culture and the life he now leads, because he does go to that one like fast food restaurant noodle, and he comments on the like, and these machine made noodles, do not give me the comfort that blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah. And it's just like, all right, dude, like this is a
Yeah,
little
it's
much.
in this first story, it's all there's I think I like the first story the least out of the three of them
Interesting.
that we get in this movie. I think because there's no
I guess I would agree with you,
like
but
there's
I don't
no
know.
twist of any kind. Not saying they have to throw like a sudden shocker at us, but there's really nothing narratively fresh in it, and you don't mind it. Like you're not bored, you're not waiting for something to get exciting. It's just sort of an adjustment to, oh, this is its goal is to tell this very straightforward, sincere, plain story.
Hmm.
And the grandma's going to die, and he's going to rush to her bedside and hold her hand. And she's like, I'm not going to be able to eat noodles with you anymore. And he's like, don't worry, grandma.
We'll eat noodles
Anytime you
together in
want,
heaven.
you
Yeah.
can eat noodles. Like it's so exactly what you think it's going to be. And it never deviates from this kind of hallmark path. And again, you don't mind it. It's just sort of you have to adjust yourself to, oh, this is
Right.
exactly what it says on the box.
Yeah. Um, the one thing that I thought was really fascinating about the animation in
Mm,
this one is the way they did the food.
the
Like
food looks
I
good.
yeah, the food looks amazing in this one. But specifically the like water and liquids that they
Yeah.
had in there, because that I feel like is something that's harder to animate and draw
Hmm.
correctly. So I think of everything in that story, the liquid, whether it be like the water that's in the soup or the broth or stuff like
Raining at
that.
one point, I think.
Yeah, all right. Well, yeah, I guess I mean specifically with the food. I was like, I didn't
Yeah.
think about the rain, but sure, you're correct. That is a liquid.
Rain is
Um,
like, you
but
heard it here first.
it 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 they animated it in this more stylized
Yeah.
way. I thought like there's all these like water droplets and circles like flying off of it, and it's like that's not really how it looks in real life per se, but
Hmm.
the way they animated it, it looks so beautiful, it looks so
Hmm.
good, and it's just like, oh, that looks amazing, the patterns and the colors and all,
Yeah, makes
um
me want to go out and get some noodles.
yeah, go get some ramen or something. Or
Mm-mm.
I don't even know what type of san chan noodles. I don't know how to pronounce it.
It's something like that, yeah.
Sanjan beef, I think, is what they called it.
Mm.
Um, I could be completely wrong on that and make myself look like an idiot. But yeah, like it looked like, while the story and I guess the tone of the story is so deadpan, the
Hmm.
food and the way they took care to animate that food, I think, is really where that story shines. Of just like, that is the
Yeah.
memory, that is the thing that's making him happy. Let's give 110% of our time and our
Hmm.
love to make this food look delicious.
It's a real love letter to the food.
Yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Uh, do you have
You
anything else to say with that one?
no, I want to go ahead to the second one because I think the
Sure.
second one was my favorite of these three stories.
Okay. There you go. Why
I
was this one your favorite?
ah I liked the setting that it was in. It was about one of those conflicts that you know must exist, but you never
Yeah.
stop and think about it very much or see a lot of stories told from this perspective, like the model who is still pretty young and pretty, and she's like, this has an expiration date on it, I know it, like, and already there's like uh a younger girl who's like rising up to try and beat her and get all of her jobs. I liked the conflict. I liked its tone because the first story was almost kind of schmaltzy, like the grandma dies and you're not really emotionally connected to the grandma because you can tell like she is there to die.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
it's such a maybe not cliche, but just standard emotional through line in the first story.
Yeah.
And the third story is almost a little too sad for me. Like he's got this girl he always had a crush on, and she sent him this like final love letter, and he just never saw it before he moved away. And they lost all of those potential years together with each other, which is
Mm-hmm.
almost too brutal. Like it's not a very dark story, but just like the
Third
implication of
one was
that.
my favorite.
Yeah, when you stop and think about it, I'm like, oh, that's too much. And this one was like right in the middle. Like it was just sad enough.
It's
Oh, like
just
this.
right.
Yeah, this one hit a lot of good chords for me. And I also like the just the story of these parents die and they leave behind two little girls and they have to be adopted by two different parts of the family.
Mm-hmm.
And the older sister like really struggles to make herself uh be able to provide for the younger sister. Like as soon as she's out on her own, she's like, come live with me, I'll take you in, I'll help send you through school.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good story. I really liked kind of the it's I mean it's not a surprise. You know that the younger
Mhm.
sister is like in fashion school. She's learning to be a
Yeah.
designer, but I felt like it's a detail they don't really talk about all that much until the end, when the older sister realizes that, oh, she's putting on this show and she wants me to be the model, like, and she doesn't care if I'm getting too old or stuff. Like, she just wants to
Mhm.
do things with her sister, you know.
Yeah. They make it clear, like from the very beginning, the younger sister is studying to be a fashion designer. Like you see her
Right. Mm-hmm.
making different pieces. You see like the little sewing station in her room. But yeah, you don't find out until like the last chunk of the story how the older sister, as a fashion model, feels about the younger sister being a designer,
Mm-hmm.
and like
She
what
Yeah,
their two careers, how they relate to each other.
it's almost as if the older sister is too wrapped up in wanting to take care of the younger sister
Hmm.
by doing her job and
Hmm.
stuff like that, that she almost doesn't really notice, is what I felt like.
Yeah, and like the younger sister, she's at home more often. She's a little bit more of the, like, she's not the breadwinner, but she's the more responsible one. She's the one that will
Hmm.
actually like cook dinner and
Yeah.
make sure the older sister like wakes up on time. And
Well,
so she's a yeah, she does her best.
there is the
She
scene
tries
here
when
where
she
she
can.
wakes up a little late
Well,
and it's like, oh
like
my god.
she does not wake her up, but she tells her, "You have to make sure you wake up on time."
Yeah.
Uh, it's about her being a big helper and like taking care of the older sister, but there's a change at the end from which one of them is the provider, is really the breadwinner in the family. And it's also about the older sister kind of learning to, beyond just household tasks, letting the little sister take care of her that much.
Hmm. Yeah. um this one I felt did a good job of that, like, sibling, not rivalry, but just the connection between them and the
Yeah.
way they would act,
Hmm.
of just that night when it's the older sister's birthday and she forgets, like, her younger sister was
Yeah.
waiting for her at home, and then she finally comes home and she's drunk, and so the younger sister brings the food back out, and it's just this relationship of like caring, but at the same time just being like, she's up to her
Yeah,
bullshit
like
again, just like,
exasperation. Yeah, yeah.
all right, here we go. I guess we have to do this because she's the big famous model, But it's
Hmm.
not this. It's not contempt, though. She's not like, ugh,
Hmm.
she's this stuck-up model that thinks she's all
Hmm.
all that. It's just like, hey, she's doing really well and
Yeah.
she loves the life she's in, so I'm going to support her. And I think that's what the older sister realizes down the road, when she finally figures out that she might have to do something else, once modeling
Hmm.
is no longer a thing for her. She goes, well, I can now support my younger sister in the life that she wants, and if she
Hmm.
wants me to model, sure, I'll still model and stuff like that. But it's this, like, role reversal of,
Yeah.
like, hey, now it's my turn to actually support you.
Hmm. I also like that the older sister felt like she wasn't good at anything. Like she really had like no talents or skills. She's like, all I have going for me is that I'm tall.
Yeah.
And because I am tall and fairly pretty looking, that's how I get to be a model.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's really at a loss when she feels like she can't model anymore. She's like, what else do I do with my life? I don't have any other skills.
Yeah. Which is a real thing of just
Hmm.
like, hey, I've done this one thing my whole life, and I don't know how to do anything else. What do I
Yep.
do? Um, but yeah, I also really liked their, or the, I don't remember his name, but the manager guy
Yeah.
is, the
Steve.
agent, was his name Steve? Is that it? I don't remember.
Steve.
I
That one I for little sister's name Lulu. I forget the older sister's name, but yeah, I saw her name pop up in the show.
Oh well. Um, but yeah, like I really liked him. I thought he was a funny character, but then he has this respect for the older sister because he knows how much talent she does actually
Mhm.
have. And then when he's kind of off the hook, he's like, "All right, look, I respect you, but I'm gonna give it to you straight. You're off the hook now. You need to get your shit together. You
Yeah.
know." And I like that relationship that they have. Their friendship is good one.
Yeah, it's
It's a
very
good one.
sweet. And I like that the older sister's so bad at like remembering to check her phone and respond to texts that the younger sister will just text the manager like, "Hey, does she want to go out for dinner
That scene
tonight?"
was terrible. It was so good. It was just like, ooh, yeah, that would happen. Like, I can totally see
Yeah.
that happen. Like, why didn't she just text me? He goes, well, you don't answer. And you can tell she's just so defeated at that, but just like, all right, she's right. Like, I don't. I'm a terrible sister. But yeah, it's good. I think that one's a good story.
Yeah. I think the only thing that might have used a little touch up is that rival model because she is such a villain. Like she doesn't have the same dimension to her that the other characters in the story have. Like you
Interesting.
don't really see her being anything beyond like, oh, I'm such a big fan of yours. I'd love to model like you, and I'm gonna take all of your jobs. Like she's a little
So
like
I
fake complimentary backstabby a little bit. Like there's just not
interesting.
she doesn't get to be anything beyond what the antagonist role of the story demands that she does.
I didn't really see her as a villain, or I guess as an antagonist, all that much. Because when she first shows up, yeah, she is like girling and be like, "Oh my god, I followed your work for so long." Like we all copied you in high school and stuff like that. She like at that moment, she seemed more like this kind of bright-eyed, naive,
Yeah.
just starting in the fashion industry. She's maybe about to be taken advantage of by some manager or something
Mm.
like that. Whereas when they have the moment in the audition when like she's starting to get the role, like it's not, or at least I didn't feel like it was because she was being antagonistic, like, "Ha, I'm gonna steal this job from you," or
She's not going for that. I don't think she is actively trying to take things that this other model had, but
right.
whenever she gets something, there is this little bit of smugness and attitude to it.
She's gaining more confidence of just like, hey, maybe I actually do have talent, which means, hey, maybe I'm catching up to you. Like that. Hey, yeah, take that.
and
Haha.
and whether it's like actual attitude or just sort of attitude through the eyes of the main model we're following, I just wish that younger model
Melissa, you're getting a little bit robot-y on me here.
now what do I do? Can you hear me again?
Yes, we can hear you now. Um, yeah, like I felt like it was more of just like an obstacle for the older
Mm,
sister. It wasn't necessarily an antagonist, but just this thing in the road that is like a morbid reminder of, hey, you're getting older.
yeah,
You're not going to be
yeah.
able to do this much longer.
Mm. Like I don't think the younger girl is actively antagonistic. She just sort of has. She's a little bit too self-satisfied whenever she gets something. Like she gets the job that the other model doesn't. And I just would have liked to see a little bit more from her, or some sort of moment between the two of them at the end after the older models sort of become a little bit more comfortable. Like she's less paranoid
Yeah.
about not getting something, like a moment where the two of them reach out to each other again. Like where are they really at? Like once any element of competition is taken out, then how do they relate to each other?
See, I think I would have liked something very similar to that, but between the older sister and the new editor of that one
Oh,
magazine,
right. Yeah.
because I thought he was a super fascinating character. He has this moment where he comes in, basically says one or two lines, excuse me, which are like our questions to the
Hmm.
older sister, and it's this moment that is supposed to make her think, but she doesn't really think. Like she's almost just not paying attention,
Yeah.
and I felt like that was an interesting character to use there, of just like, oh, she's kind of out of it, not really paying attention. What happens when now she does have this role reversal with her sister, and she's more supportive of her sister and doing that stuff? How would her answers change? And that is kind of what I wanted to see, of just like, how would she deal with a similar kind of, so what do you see now,
Hmm.
kind of thing. I think that's what he asks her,
Yeah,
of just
I'd
like,
like to see
what
that
do you
too.
see?
Mm.
So something like that. You know what
Yeah, I
else I
really.
wish they had more of the younger sister's drawings of all these
Yeah,
different
whenever
outfits
we
and
see
stuff.
them, they're really neat.
Yeah, see, I was
Hmm.
thinking that it was going to be a thing of like, hey, I know my sister or my younger sister is a fashion designer, but I'm kind of in this other world of modeling. We haven't really crossed paths yet,
Yeah.
And so I was expecting, when she opened up her sketchbook, that all the drawings were going to be of her, of the older
Hmm.
sister, which it wasn't really the
No.
case. I guess you could see some resemblance, maybe, but I guess they're meant to not look like a specific person.
Hmm.
But I thought that would have been a really touching, like,
Yeah.
realization that she's making all of these outfits for her. Like, all of these drawings look like me in all of these outfits. Which is, I guess, maybe also something I could see the younger sister doing. Like, hey, I have this older sister who's a model. Why don't I just draw her and her
Yeah.
proportions and stuff like that? Because that's how they make all of they find the tallest, skinniest, lankiest, um, but yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Story number 3 was my favorite.
Hmm. It's
This,
it's very strong, and I think it
yes,
does have the most complexity to it.
exactly, yeah. Um, this one to me was, because you mentioned the narration, that we each get
Hmm.
narration from certain characters. I liked the whole, like, cassette tape thing, where they would
Yeah,
have these conversations back and forth by recording on cassette tapes.
that was very neat.
And it was a little difficult to understand at first. Not because I don't know what they are. I know what a cassette tape is. I used them all the time. But for our younger listeners out there, this is an ancient technology, an older version of the CDs that your parents might have. uh, but it was this thing that they would have these conversations on the tape.
Mhm.
I at first thought they were like sending each other songs, or would write each other whole letters on
Mhm.
the thing. But then as the story went on, it seemed like they would have a conversation on the tape, of just like, hey, I would say one thing, maybe ask you something else, and then record that, and then hand it back to you. You would record your answer and hand it back.
Yeah, I imagine they are tapes full of songs, or like, hey,
I'm
you
sure
had
there's
a
all sorts of
yeah,
stuff.
you had a dentist appointment. Here's the notes from bio class today that I recorded for you. Like, I think there's like they put a lot of stuff on the tape, but we're only seeing this like back and forth conversation where like one of them will say, "Hey, it's great talking to you. What do you think about this?" And the other person will get the tape, and here's more songs and more notes from school. And here I'm going to help you understand the story for English class. and here's my response to your question, and then I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I That is a really fun story mechanic.
Yeah, and it was neat to see how they illustrated that and animated it, because
Mhm.
they make it seem like the two characters are right there in the moment having that conversation,
Yeah.
but it's each one of them playing the tape at
Hmm.
back and forth there. So I thought that was really neat, and I liked that. Um, and I liked the inclusion of the third wheel too. This was I
Yeah.
just kind of realized this, but story number one had basically one character.
Oh, dang,
Story
it
number
does.
two
Yeah.
had two characters, and then story three has three
That
characters.
is very cool.
Um, but yeah, like I liked the introduction of this like third wheel friend kind of in the midst of it,
Hmm.
and while it is this love story between the two of them, it is this like love story just like, hey, I miss my friends, of just like, I want to go back and hang out with my friend group because something happened and everything just kind of fell apart, life moved on, um and what ended up happening, I guess just to spell it out, is that one of them, the girl, is I guess was maybe a lot smarter than them, or just like more of an not
Yeah.
an
Yeah, I think
overachiever, but
she was
had
smart,
more stakes as
and she had the
well.
most pressuring parents that were like, you
Exactly,
have to get in
to a
to
good
this
school.
very good school, and we're not going to accept anything less from you.
Yeah. And the like main character, the young boy, is like, well, I'm just one of them dumb kids, but I like you a lot, so I'm gonna not be one of them dumb
Mm.
kids, and I'm gonna work my butt off to get into that school as well. But I'm not gonna tell you
Yeah.
so that on the day when we get our acceptance letters, we can just
Yeah,
both
it'll
be
seem like
happy,
just a casual coincidence. Like,
happily
oh
ever
wow,
after.
I
Yeah.
can also go there. Huh, it's not like I really like you and have liked you for years and I made this my goal. Like he's trying to play it really, really cool. And you can see it coming that there's gonna be this gift of the Magi thing where he's trying to get into her school and he never tells her. And
Yeah.
he's like, oh, I'll just go to the local school. And she's like, I could get into this nicer school. I don't want to. I don't care what my parents think. I'm gonna throw the test so that I will
Yeah.
be at the level to go to the regular local school.
They both make the
Yeah.
decision separately to like, I want to
Oh,
stay with you, and they both just they just like
yeah.
switch, and it's like, no, just
So
communicate.
he ends up going
Communication
to
is key.
the fancy school and he has to like move away because it's like a couple hours away, I think, to go there. And he just never sees her again.
Yeah, yeah. It's, I mean, it's this thing of just like looking back on the mistakes of your youth,
Yeah.
of just like things like it may have seemed like the romantic thing to do at
Mhm.
that age, of just like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna surprise her by getting in all that stuff, and the hopeless romantic in me is like, yes, do that, that's amazing, do this
Mhm.
grand gesture, but no, like communicate, like you
Mhm.
need to talk, like, and figure it out, and that's why everything went wrong. But then he ends up stumbling upon this tape, that he realized he never listened to, that
Mhm.
he in the present day thinks he doesn't know about, but we learned back in the day that he, like, people did mention it to him, he was just so focused on his studies that he was just
Yeah,
like, eh,
like the
you know.
girl was too, she's like, oh, I don't want to bother him and I'm kind of shy. I'll give it to third wheel friend. Third wheel friend, take this tape to the boy. And the third wheel friend just like also is like, well, he's studying too hard. I don't want to bother him. Kid's mom, here, can you take
I
the tape?
felt like he thought it was awkward, just like, I don't want to get in the middle of whatever
Yeah, yeah. He's
you
like, I'm
two are
not giving
doing.
you a tape from a girl. So he gives it to the kid's mom. And she's like, honey, one of your friends dropped this off for you. And he's like, yeah, okay, mom, I'm studying. And he never listens to it. He forgets it's there, and it's not until he's like moving apartments in his 20s that he finds his tape in the box, and he's like, "Oh no, I had some final message from her that I never
Never
knew
looked
I
at.
I
Yeah.
didn't listen to." Yeah, it's
Yeah.
rough.
Um, I don't. Did we hear what that final message was? I don't
Yeah,
remember if we did.
yeah. That's when she tells him, "I am going to throw the test.
Oh,
I
that's
want to go
right.
to the same
That
school
was
you're
when
going
the
to."
revelation came from.
And she's like, "I
Um,
don't want to have any regrets. Like, I want to be honest about." It's like she comes forth, she's completely honest. He just never hears her.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. That's a great moment. Um, and yeah, and he has this thing of like, now I need to go find her and be like, I'm still here. Do you still like me? Kind of.
yeah.
Check yes or no.
Yeah. Like he listens to the tape and then like he doesn't know how to get back in touch with her, or I don't know if he
He
does
just
find her or not, but like
it's he does, but it's because they're at the airport.
well, she like the way the story ends
She
before that
comes
like
into the
coda that
like
wraps up all of them. Yeah, he's an architect and he has planned and built this hotel for the urban renewal project that's
mhm.
going on around the neighborhood they grew up in. And so him and his buddy are now running this hotel. Because I guess if you're an architect, you can also, be a hospitality manager. Those skills transfer. If you built the building, you can totally manage the
This is
building.
my building.
So
You
he's
cannot take it
running
away
this
from me.
hotel,
Here's mine.
and she shows up as a guest.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um. Or just he hears that he's back in town or
Yeah.
something. But yeah, it's this. It's this moment of I like I don't know exactly what he's going to do of to be like, hey, do you still I don't feel like he's going to say that. He does mention this like, can we at least say goodbye? Like if
Yeah.
nothing else, like we've already moved on, can we at least say goodbye and have that closure there? But it
Mhm.
looks like it worked out for the best and they're all
Yeah.
friends
Yeah.
again, and who knows, they might live happily ever after.
This story reminded me a lot of Kids on the Slope
Yeah.
in that it is that like three friends. It doesn't have like the love triangle going for it. This is definitely a couple and also friend, the third wheel guy.
Yeah.
I like that he's very comfortable in his role as third wheel guy in
Third
this
wheel
friend
guy.
group. Yeah. It like they all kind of lose track of each other and like they lost all of this potential time where they could have been together. And then like, well, the two guys stay friends, but yeah, the girl is out of their life, and then finally they're all able to come together like later on
Yeah.
and like try and
And
start up again where they
part
left
of
off.
part of their lack of communication after the incident happened was because her parents were so strict, and it looks like
Mhm.
they were a little bit
Yeah. Well,
abusive. Um, and so I'm sure it was just like the her throwing the test. I'm sure her parents didn't take very well. I don't know if they knew that she actually
no,
threw it or if she just
I don't imagine
regardless.
they were able to figure that out, but maybe they believed like, oh, those friends of yours were distracting you, and
Yeah,
that's why you didn't
exactly.
get the absolute best test scores. You just got like the second or third best test
And so
scores.
I'm wondering if they like shut her off from
Yeah.
and that was partly why I'm just like, okay, you don't get to hang out with them anymore.
Mhm.
Because I'm assuming third whale dude went to the normal high school with her. So I don't know,
Yeah.
or maybe they took her out of school and just, all right, you're gonna work, instead or something. Who
I
knows?
don't know.
I don't know. Good stuff though. I really liked that one. That one I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
was my favorite because
I like
I think it has the most sense of urgency to that
yes. Yeah,
story
it's got the
and something you
most
can root
things
for.
going on. It's got a real ticking clock on it beyond like, the woman in the second story thinking like I'm aging. It's not like every hour or every day matters to her, but for this guy trying to find this old girl, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got that chase, and like he has this cassette tape, and he's like, "Where do I find a cassette tape player?" So he has to like go visit his grandma, who he hasn't seen in years, because he's like, she will definitely have one. I also really like the story's sense of setting. Like the kids are growing up in this kind of ramshackle neighborhood,
Hmm.
and then as you see them get older, they're slowly tearing that neighborhood down, and they're going to just renew it and rebuild it. And like when the guy goes to visit his grandma at the very end, she's like in the last building that still has to be
Yeah.
demolished. And like there's rubble around her and she still lives there. And he's like, "Are you thinking about moving in with mom and dad?" And she's like, I will probably, they probably will not finish off this building while I am still alive. Like, I think I got the time. I'm not worried about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Um, of the three, I know the second one was your favorite.
Yeah.
What one do you think would play best as a feature-length movie?
Uh,
I'm assuming it's either going to be two or three.
yeah, I think the third one,
I would agree.
like
I
following
think the
each of
third
those
one, yeah,
characters.
would make a
Yeah, like,
fantastic, like, and just give me 2 hours of that to actually make me
yeah.
invest more in that romance and stuff. So when it falls apart, and then when they finally gets back together, just be like, yes, I'm so happy.
Like what all of them go on to do with their life. Even third wheel friend, like
Yeah,
I'd like to learn more about him and like what is his life like? You know, is has he found love? Has he not? Like, is he supportive of his
sounds like he
friends?
just
Like,
likes food.
yeah, yeah, he's just kind of a
He's like,
schlubby
oh, they
guy.
have some great restaurants around here, and she's sitting there like, and some things just don't change.
Yep, yep. I liked him. I liked that he was this consistent point of levity throughout the story because he never really gets wrapped up in the drama. Like there's lots of tragedy around, but it doesn't have to do with him, and he's just sort of consistently himself the
Mhm.
whole time. Also, almost like that other cop in the records department in Terror and Resonance. Like
Yeah,
there's all that drama going on, and there's that guy who's just like eating chips and like trying to solve a crossword puzzle.
because he has no other skills. It's like, let's just guard the records, guard these papers, because you can't really do much else, dude.
Isn't like a bomb loose or something? And he's like, "Well, I'll go up on the roof with a pair of binoculars
Yeah,
and I'll
that
see
was
what
the
I
best
can
scene.
see."
Was there a character? You know what? I'm gonna focus it to the. I don't know. I guess we could ask all of them again. I'm assuming it's gonna be something from number 2 or 3. Is there a character in these that you identified with the most?
Oh, that I looked at and I'm like, "Dang, that's me." Oh, I don't know. What if I told you I identified with the noodles?
Just handmade with love.
Like me. No,
Hot, spicy, and handmade with love.
I think as a sibling, I did relate to the two sisters the most.
Okay, that makes sense.
You know, like am I a good provider for my family, even though they're not really my responsibility? And like, do I have the money to like, help my brother out with something if he needs help? Like,
Hmm.
will I be there when I am needed? It's like, oh, I don't
Okay.
like, I don't know if I can do anything else for you, but I brought you dinner. Eat dinner, like on me.
Yeah. I think for me it would be a mix between the younger sister in the second one and then the third whale in
I just like
the
third
third
wheel.
one. Like if you could combine them into one character who like likes art but is like super lazy and likes his food and is just like, I'm just gonna do my own
Yeah.
thing and have fun, that's me.
Or maybe like the manager from the third story, because I'm just like, that's me at work. I'm just like sensible mom friend at work. It's like, don't worry, I took care of everything.
There you go. I think that's about all I have to say
We've pretty much covered it.
at this. Oh, I do have one more thing I want to talk about. So at the end of all of this is when we get the scene in the airport. somehow I'm about to sneeze. Ooh, excuse me.
Way to go.
Um, somehow at the airport they all just happen to be there. We don't know exactly why they're all there, but they are. They don't interact with one another, but again, they just happen to all be
Yeah,
there.
which
Um,
is I like that it ties it together, but isn't like too neat
excuse me.
of a conclusion. Like
Yeah,
they don't need to interact with each other for the audience to feel some sense of closure or satisfaction.
right.
Like the movie doesn't depend on and then we pull everything together at the end. Like
Yeah.
they are just three
I mean,
standalone
they
stories in the coda where they are all like in the airport traveling through China at the same time is
they do
plenty.
kind of like their way to wrap it up is with the narration, and they all
Mhm.
kind of come to similar conclusions of just like, well, and that's life, and youth is desirable and fleeting, and we should cherish it and communicate. Done. Uh, but I like it's that I think may have been the cheesiest just like that
Mhm.
ending
Yeah.
narration, but it's like a minute
Yeah.
long. It's not that bad. But having seen that, I I I feel like this would almost be a good play. Just like this whole
Yeah.
thing, just these three short stories all in one production would I feel like would make a really good play.
Yeah, maybe you could do that.
You know,
You
I mean,
almost
because
have too many settings. Like if you could simplify the number of settings,
yeah,
I could see it happening.
yeah, like I don't I like the first one. Basically, you need a shop with a different sign every
Mhm.
time. Yeah, I know, like that's basically it.
Yeah.
Um, Second one, I would just say like the apartment, maybe a runway,
Hmm.
but that's it. And then the third one is yeah, like the kid, like I guess just like outside of their apartment building,
Hmm.
maybe inside one of
Yeah,
them,
you have to
or
have a
but
desk to study at.
yeah. They can do one of those things where there's a wall down the middle of the
Hmm.
stage, and they're both on at their desks on separate
Yeah.
sides, something like that. But yeah, and then the airport scene at the end. But that's not much at all, or at least I don't think it's all that much. I guess I don't really know
If you
much
get the
about theater,
chairs
so
that look, if you get the chairs that look enough like airport chairs, you're good.
yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. Um, that being said, I think that is all that I have
Yeah,
with
we're
this
done.
one.
So this was a fun
Giggity
watch.
Dunzo. Yeah, it was good.
Hmm.
It was good.
All
I'm
right.
glad I watched it.
Yeah, yeah, it's very charming, very pretty.
Oh
This is a
yeah.
good movie just to put on if you just want like some eye candy in the background.
Hmm.
Okay, Kyle,
Agreed.
are you ready for pitches for next week?
Yes,
Okay,
Melissa, hit me with your best shot.
okay. My theme this week is movies where I know there is a twist, but I don't know where the twist is.
Oh goodness.
And like I've
Okay.
pitched you like famous twist movies before, like Sixth Sense or Unbreakable or The Prestige, but I always knew what it was. Like I was
Hmm.
familiar with them. And there's even movies that I've never seen where, oh yeah, I know what happens in these.
Sure.
These are movies where I know something happens, but I don't know what, or I have a
Interesting.
very vague notion of it, and I don't know how the entire thing comes together.
Okay.
Yeah. Pitch number one is a movie from earlier this year called Serenity. Not the spaceship.
Not the Firefly
No,
standalone movie.
no. This is a movie starring Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway.
Okay.
And I remember seeing the trailer for this in the theater, and he's just like a fisherman on a boat. He's just kind of living this tranquil vacationy life. Like he goes out on his boat and he fishes, and he seems like he has kind of this tumultuous relationship with Anne Hathaway. And the trailer makes it seem like just sort of a standard psychological thriller drama, and I didn't think much of it. And
Okay.
then I started hearing
Interesting.
this movie goes in some insane direction. Like I heard some comedian on a podcast saying, this movie completely shocked me. I want to do a podcast where I make other people sit down with me and we just watch the movie Serenity over and over again. And I see how each new person reacts to this movie. Like, I
That's
don't
funny.
know what happens, but there's something in this otherwise straightforward looking film that makes it go completely off the rails. And I had a
Okay.
friend like tell me she had watched it and she's like, you should definitely see this. Try and see if you can do it on the podcast because that sounds like it'd be a really neat discussion.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And
Pitch
if
number
nothing
one,
else, it's
Serenity.
beautiful like beach and ocean scenery. It's a pretty
Sure.
trailer.
Sure. Serenity.
Yeah, this is
Interesting.
from 2019. This is a very recent film. Like I think this
Yes.
probably came out like very early in the spring.
Okay.
Pitch number two is a movie called Bernie. This is from 2011. This stars Jack Black and Shirley MacLaine. And the description is in small town Texas, an affable mortician strikes up a friendship with a wealthy widow, though when she starts to become controlling, he goes to great lengths to separate himself from her grasp. The film critic Leonard Maltin has a really great podcast called Maltin on Movies. And I remember him mentioning this movie a couple years ago, saying it was
Mm-hmm.
a really fantastic performance from Jack Black, something you've never really seen him do. And he gave a basic synopsis like that. And he's like, I really can't tell you anything else about that movie because it ruins the directions it goes into. This is a
Interesting.
really surprising, fascinating film, and I really want people to go out and see it. So I've always been curious about this and exactly what it turns into.
Curiouser and
Yeah.
curiouser.
And then pitch number three, I still have to go look this up and make sure I've got all the stats on it correct.
Well, if we pick that second one, it's gonna be interesting to see Jack Black in a non-comedic role. I'm assuming it's not
I
comedic.
I
I don't
don't
know.
know. I like it might be kind of like slice of life dramedy is kind of the effect,
Okay.
kind of the impression I got from it. Let me look it back up real quick. Let's see what IMDb categorizes it as. No, the movie, Bernie the movie. There it is. Biography, comedy. This is a biography? Wow, there's a lot of weird stuff. Oh, this also has Matthew McConaughey in it. Wild.
Whoa! What a twist!
Where? You're going to take off your skin and you're Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah. Does your third pitch have Matthew McConaughey in it?
No, it's got a pretty good cast besides. This is Shutter Island.
Okay.
This the Martin Scorsese movie from 2010 starring Leonardo DiCaprio. In
Mm.
1954, a U.S. Marshal investigates the disappearance of a murderer who escaped from a hospital for the criminally insane. I have a vague notion of what happens in this movie, but nothing concrete. Like, I don't know exactly how anything comes together. I'm not able to summarize, like, in a sentence or two, this is what the twist is. I just know it is generally very twisty. And I went looking up, like, lists of best movie twists of all times,
That one's
and this
on
was
there.
like the highest ranked one I
Hmm.
couldn't really get a grasp on.
This is the only one that I've seen of the ones you've pitched, but it's been years, so I couldn't even let you know what like. I know it, and I know if I watch it again, I'm like, all right, yeah, all right, cool.
Yeah.
This is what's going on here, but I
Yeah, and like I know
can't
somebody
describe
like
it right now.
told this to me once, but it's become so fuzzy in my head. Like I think I know what it is, but not really anymore.
Interesting.
That's why I made it onto this list. I needed a third one, and this was the closest to. I don't really know what's going on, but I know it's something.
It's in there.
Yeah, so
They're up
it's
to something.
is our Shutter Island, Bernie, and Serenity, the one with a boat, not the one with a spaceship.
Serenity the boat, not the spaceship.
Yeah. No
Uh,
Nathan Fillion's in sight.
um, I don't know. I'm kind of. These are all good ones. What do I want to do?
I will say, if this helps decide anything for you, I've never heard anybody but Leonard Maltin talk about the movie Bernie, but Serenity has been a hot topic of have you seen Serenity? Do you know what happens in Serenity? So there's a ticking clock on that one that
Okay.
if we don't watch it soon, somebody will spoil whatever the heck it is for us.
I say we go ahead and do Serenity
Okay.
then, because that one just the way you described it, instead of it being like, oh, and it's this intriguing twist where it's actually this one thing happening. It's like, no, something happens and it just
Yeah, I
goes
don't
off
know.
the rails.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like I think it is, and being a movie from earlier this year, I think we are at the period in its discussion where it is widely known something happens, but we're maybe a couple months away from people openly talking about the thing that happens.
Okay, so I watched a movie similar. Well, I don't know if it's similar to this at all, but it was it's a Korean film on Netflix called Forgotten, and I put it on my list because I recognized one of the actors. He was in Bad Guys Vile City, which is one of my favorite Netflix originals. It's also a Korean show, but it was supposed to be this thriller about something happening to this one kid. I was like, all right, that sounds good. That sounds like something I would like. And I watched it maybe a month and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
That movie went in all sorts of different
Oh,
directions. It was wild, of just like, I don't think they know what movie they're making. I just like, this is like, it's one I wouldn't necessarily recommend, but just like, if you just want to see
yeah.
just some bonkers wild shit,
Sometimes
watch that
that's
one.
exactly what I want. Like I don't care if it's good, I don't care if it's bad. I just want it to surprise me.
Exactly. So next week we will be covering Serenity from
Mm,
2019, starring Matthew McConaughey
mm.
and Anne Hathaway, is who you said, right?
Yes.
Okay. Good to know. That's what we'll be talking about for next week. We did most of our housekeeping, so the whatnauts.com is where you can get more information. Patreon.com/the whatnauts is where you can support us. You can throw us all your hard-earned money our way. Give us some pocket change or scrounge up some coins from the couch cushions or something. Toss it our way. That would be much appreciated. At the $1 tier, you can get access to the live streams of this show here, and you can be part of the conversation and watch along with us at home and then participate in the conversation here. You also get all of our episodes early at the $1 tier. At the $3 tier, you get all of our exclusive content, which we're gonna be. I keep mentioning that we're gonna be recording it, but I feel like I've been mentioning it for like a month now, but
We are going to get to it soon. Yes.
yes, we are going to be recording an exclusive episode of the review show on Mob Psycho 100 season 2, because we had previously covered season 1 on an episode of the review show that is out and public to everyone. But yeah, I think that's about it. Melissa, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT.
And I am at Yo Kyle Springer on both Twitter and Instagram. If you guys want to get updates for this show or any of our other podcasts, we are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. And yeah, we'll see you next week for episode 61. I guess is the one we're on next.
Yes,
that comes after
that should
60.
be it. I believe we have both counted correctly.
It's the thing that I do all the even numbers, you do all the odd ones. So that's how it works. We'll be back next week for episode 61. We will talk to you guys later on. Adios.
Bye.
Party peoples, thank you for checking out that episode of the Whatnauts review show. If you enjoyed it, please go subscribe to our channel right up there. It would also help us out a ton if you watched one of our other videos right down here. It could be one of our other podcasts, not necessarily the review show. Who knows what they're gonna put here. Go check all that stuff out. We would greatly appreciate it. Bye, we love you.